Welcome everybody to ATI Talks. ATI Talks is a concept in which we interview an expert in the field on a topic related to advanced technologies. Today will be about artificial intelligence. ATI stands for Advanced Technologies for Industry, and it's a project that is commissioned by the European Commission, in particular the European Innovation Council and SME Executive Agency, ISMEA, and DG GROW. And it's contributed to the EU's industrial policy approach and to promote the creation of a competitive European industry. My name is Niels van der Linden. I'm a senior director at Capgemini Invent and your host for this session. We will explore today the promise of AI for modernizing industry, the potential, the current challenges in adoption, and also recommended solutions moving forward. And we will do so with Professor Stelian Brad, who is a full professor in intelligent robotics and innovation engineering at the Cluj Technical University, also the president of Cluj IT, which is the Romanian member of the Digital SME Alliance. Welcome very much, Stelian, and thank you for making yourself available. Could you please shortly introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, first of all, very much for the invitation and for having me in this talk. Yeah, as you mentioned, I'm professor in the university. I'm teaching artificial intelligence to students, but also I'm working also with this technology in industrial projects. This means in manufacturing sector, in robotics, autonomous robots, as well as in social robotics. But also recently we had several challenges in the field of waste management and in the field of health sector.
Yeah, great. Well, welcome to be here. Let's dive into the conversation around AI, maybe to start off with its promise. So in potential, if you read all the studies that have been done in this area, according to many sources, the potential is huge. So IDC alone forecasts total spending of AI to grow to 96 billion at the end of 22. The EU market is expected to grow faster than the global market, representing a share of 23% by the end of 23. So it seems to hold great promise. So would you agree on that? And if so, what's your view on that promise for AI, for industry? How will it actually help organizations?
Thanks for the question. Actually, maybe the audience should know that in the last 2 years, people generated more than 90% of all data from all time. So we can see here an exponential generation of data because of the technologies we are using today. But definitely you have mentioned about potential. Potential, it's one side, the capacity to adopt by companies, by organizations, institutions. It's another issue, and this is a perspective of innovation, because as you have mentioned, the artificial intelligence is an advanced technology, which means it's an emerging technology, still let's say little adoption, but with huge potential. I would say that artificial intelligence for industry helps to optimize the entire value chain, and I'm talking here about all industries. So if we are looking to an industrial sector where it's a huge competition, we see a disruption in the economic climate. And when we are talking about this, we have to look for optimization, because optimization has become the core of business prosperity. So some industries, as you know, are capital intensive, time intensive, and from this perspective, they leave a lot of room, plenty of room for improvement. So I say that it is a big promise, but we have first to act in a way to educate industries, managers to understand how to fill this potential. I will not say gap, but to use this potential to make better businesses, to optimize their resources, to have an intelligent management of resources.
Yeah, great. And what would you say are those, let's say, the main barriers for adoption that we need to overcome here?
Okay, if we are talking about barriers, about challenges, I would say the first one, because many people commented on this, but from our practices, we have seen that the major barrier is how to convince people to invest in the infrastructure and the processes to collect data. I'm talking about massive data. It's a question what to collect, for what purpose. Some of us think that competence or skills in using this technology is a challenge. It is a challenge, but in terms of innovation, we can identify different business models and opportunities for experts to operate with specialized services to a wide range of organizations. I mean, we have experts, definitely we have experts, we have companies capable to handle this technology. They just have to see this opportunity to start doing businesses with this, to provide services, to operate these data of companies, to provide to them knowledge. But they have to speak the language of managers. And this is about demonstrating a good return on investment for any initiative in adoption of artificial intelligence, to let them demonstrate which is the competitive advantage of using this technology. Definitely some improvements or adaptations of the business model would be necessary, or at least some of the processes within the organization. And of course, talking the language, we have to talk about financial perspective. Mm-hmm. As I said, return on investment, net present value, etc. And it is also an advantage, but it's also coming with another challenge. When you have a lot of data, you have to store them, you have to handle them. So we have to secure this data. So somehow, by our understanding, is that artificial intelligence should come hand in hand with cybersecurity infrastructure and ecosystem to the level of organization. And I'm talking here about any kind of industry, because manufacturing is one targeted sector, definitely. As I said, capital intensive with plenty of possibilities to improve practices, to increase productivity, but also to reduce risk. Health sector, an important sector for the quality of life, transportation, public services, and there's a lot of there are a lot of possibilities in applying artificial intelligence, financials, agriculture, education, security, for sure.
We saw in research in the ATI project that the use of AI is growing, investments are deepened, there's new users entering the market. Currently, more than 1/4 of all European organizations are adopting AI or are planning to do so. So it's moving in the right direction in some sectors, I guess, as you say, that goes faster than in others. At the same time, we're now also in the, well, hopefully not any longer in the middle of the COVID crisis, but surely it has impacted all sectors. What's your view on that? Did it have any impact for better or for worse?
For better or for worse in terms of
the kind of impact that the COVID crisis had on adoption of AI technologies, for instance.
Definitely. There are situations where, there is no difference having a kind of crisis, a blockage, but definitely what we have seen in terms of this pandemic situation, that we can accelerate the process of understanding how to deal with this situation. For example, we had a project where we analyze images of people with suspected by this or proved to have this infection, and this accelerated a lot to the process of diagnosis of other people. So in the health sector, definitely with the help of AI, we are capable to accelerate the activities still to have a mature understanding of the situation, and including disruptive patterns for designing for generating new drugs, new medication. So these are huge advantages, and this kind of practices should be enhanced, in my opinion, in the future, just from the experiences we had now in the situation of COVID-19.
Yeah, great. So in that sense, it can definitely have an impact for let's say the greater good, which is a good thing. At the same time,
yes,
AI is also sometimes associated with ethical risks. What's your view on that, and how to mitigate that?
AI, it's a general term. It's about giving or enabling machines with a level of intelligence. So this is in a general definition. And from this perspective, there are so many areas of application. Some of them indeed could have an impact on privacy, on, let's say, manipulation of people, etc. So these ethical issues, and we have to be aware about this. Definitely, the wise approach is to define a robust regulation with respect to areas which are subject to such risk in terms of ethical application. But as we know, many other technologies have been developed to be used for good purposes. Some people unfortunately try to use them for bad purposes, and we do not have to stop adopting this initiative just because of this reason, but to adopt regulations and to adopt more than these practices to prevent the unethical use of AI by using AI. So AI could be our defense also against the unethical use of AI. So this is the game which I'm seeing, but if we look for the so big advantages, not only for economy, but also for the social perspective, the social good, we have to consider adoption of AI. For example, we have a lot of pressing challenges today in the world, like climate change, like poverty, like security and international terrorism, traffic of people and drugs. It's the health issue with obesity, diabetes, etc., cancer. We are talking about hunger. We are talking about these pandemics. In all these areas, which are related with social good, AI can play a tremendous role to help people, experts, understanding the right patterns of action. Just give an example. We see now, because of these international conflicts, a lot of migrations. We have refugees. They interact with new cultures. They do not know the language, so AI can help them for this multilingual interaction, to analyze the emotions using natural language processing, to give them proper recommendation and advices. So this is a huge benefit for the spirit of these communities. We can stop the use of abusive language on internet. There are many people with abusive online behaviors. So we can stop this. And something that very few people maybe know, it's the deep web. the deep web, where a lot of data, it's a hidden content, which use dynamic generative sites, which are very difficult to be identified by search engines. And there are very bad practices in the online environment. There are criminal activities, including this human trafficking. So we can fight against these situations with AI, or for disaster prevention, talking about the climate change and fast response, and many other kind of things.
Yeah, so we're talking not only, let's say, commercial value.
Yes.
We're also talking public value here.
Public value, exactly the key word, public value, and this should be a word, in my opinion, more and more to be used by even politicians, the public value, because this is a mission of any political initiative and of any policy, either to a European level, to every national or local level.
Yeah, not just the economic growth, but also the public values that we can establish here. So that is indeed a great promise of AI, I would say, not just for industry, but for the society at large. So how do we get there? So what would be your recommendations towards policymakers, industry, education on what we need to do in the coming time to realize those benefits?
We have to see this from a perspective of innovation, because it's not talking about the technology by itself. The technology can, as we said, can help us to do some things where humans are not so capable. They cannot calculate different things fast. They cannot operate with complex system in a way that machines can do. So they have to assist us, but we have to see everything, talking about different stakeholders, as a matter of innovation. For example, government, they should understand that it's an emergent technology, and for every emergent technology, policies, special policies, specialized policies should be in place to encourage the adoption. So support with any kind of incentives. Now we are seeing different incentives for companies, for people to adopt green, clean technologies. We have to do the same in terms of policies to provide incentives for adoption, because at the politician level, at the policy level, we understand the benefits. So now we have to encourage people to adopt, to create partnership with those that are capable to provide the assistance for adoption. And in my opinion, this should be a major action for governments. Investment in research and development, it's another area, because we have good models of artificial intelligence, but they are based on big data. Now the challenge is how we can make smarter machines using small data. So a revolution should happen also in this field. To increase the or to enhance the area of adopting artificial intelligence. New strategies using this small data. And of course, education, and here it's education at large scale. And on the other side, there are some sectors like health sector where governments should invest with priority, security, because that will demonstrate to the large communities the benefit of AI, and they will be a good practice for the others to adopt to their, let's say, activity sectors.
Yeah, exactly.
For industry, to the level of industry, I will say that we have to focus on cluster initiatives. And my recommendation for cluster managers to think of promoting good practices, because these are sources of inspiration for adoption. For the enterprises, let's say lowering, so going to deeper level, I encourage them to start with pilot projects, to put their needs and challenges first, and then working with consultants to find where AI can help them and how this can be done in a cost-effective and sustainable way. Of course, companies have many challenges. They have to look for the circular economy, also issues for cybersecurity, resilience, etc. But nevertheless, they have to understand that artificial intelligence is in synergy with all the other things to do the other things even better. So it's about the adoption. Companies will adopt because I'm confident that different OEMs, different producers of technologies will embed artificial technology capacities in technology. And there will be a natural way. But the challenge for many enterprises is how to adopt AI at the process level. They have in a value chain, primary and supporting processes. So there, they should see how to adapt the processes to adopt AI. But definitely they should start with a pilot project first.
Yeah, maybe as one of my last questions for this interview, you talked about your recommendations for industry. I can imagine that there's a difference between the larger corporations and the SMEs, especially maybe the smaller enterprises. What, in your view, would they need to adopt more of these solutions?
Yeah, before talking about AI, they have to understand the necessity to have a digital enterprise architecture. I mean, they need to invest first in building up the infrastructure to collect data. There are different programs that support companies for this digital transformation. So digital transformation is a kind of premise for adoption of AI. Yeah, they should not be aware starting with sophisticated things, so they can start step by step in an incremental way. First, to understand what is inside, because maybe over 80% of the, let's say, challenges in an organization are not known by the managers. So with this practice, they can unveil different kind of bottlenecks in their activities, and in many cases, such pilot projects do not necessitate huge investment. So they are affordable for SMEs, including very small businesses. I'm a boutique and I like to sell something. I can use AI to optimize the prices based on data that I collected from the buyers. We are interacting. So I encourage them to operate for data collection, and then adoption of AI will come up in a natural way.
Great. Yeah, and definitely important point to raise. So, Stelian, thank you very much. We're coming towards the end of this this conversation. We talked about the economic potential that AI has, but moreover also the public value it can create. We talked about the barriers, adoptions, your recommendations moving forward. Is there any final message you would like to share with the audience on AI?
Yes, thank you very much for having letting me to introduce also some of my thoughts. We have to think in terms of value in relation with AI. We have to think what would happen if we will not adopt AI, considering that even at economic level, Europe is competing with some other continents, with some large countries. So this is a first signal that we have to move towards adoption and accelerated adoption. we have to think in terms of our challenges in a kind of reverse way to see which is the gap to ideality and how we can make a high jump to create a lot of knowledge, to make things better. This is, to the end of the day, the natural path for system evolution. At the top level, we are talking about autonomy, so we do not have to be afraid about this, but to embrace this opportunity. And of course, I'm encouraging everybody to highlight all issues related with the quality of life first and sustainable development, and then to deploy this into opportunities for AI adoption. And with this part, I'm confident that people will see a lot of opportunities to solve or to find answer to many of the questions we are raising up today. We are talking about, in fact, a smart specialization. In Europe, this is a well-known concept, but this can be done using AI at horizontal level.
Mm-hmm. So there's still some work to go. Thank you very thank you very much, Stelian, for your time, for your views on AI, the barriers, the potential it has. I'd like to thank also everyone for viewing, for watching, and would like to close with the final remark that on the website of the ATI project, you will also find next to this video, of course, also the related reports on uptake and adoption of artificial intelligence. You will find a link in the chat below this video. And I would welcome everybody to visit and view our next ATI talks. Thank you very much, and I wish everyone a very nice day.